Welcome back to another pep talk, everyone. For those new here, my name is Stefanos. I'm a PhD candidate in chemical engineering at Western University, and my mission is to educate, motivate, and inspire for a better tomorrow. So today we're actually going to be circling around to the topic that started this whole podcasting scene, and that being the topic of surroundings and how imperative it is to construct an environment that is conducive to growth, especially if you're a serial procrastinator like I am. So there are two really main points that I'd like to hammer in by the end of today's episode. The first is that the environment that we surround ourselves with, including those around us, can override almost every motive that we have in our life. And if we truly want to start evolving beyond our current standard, then it's crucial that our environment supports that goal. The second thing is that we need to evaluate how we show up in other people's lives, because just like with life itself, we get what we give. And we need to make sure that we are there for people when they need us, so that way they can be there for us when we need them. By the end of today's episode, I hope that you can use some of the tools that we're going to discuss to help change the way that you look at your surroundings and set yourself up for success. So let's get started. Before we begin, the majority of the information source for this episode came from an amazing podcast featuring Ed Milet, but some extra info has been pulled from a podcast featuring Andy Frisella and James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. So before we begin, we have to address the single most influential and inescapable factor or driving force that dictates our chances to succeed in life. And that is the following statement: we rise to the level of the expectations set on us by those around us. I'm going to repeat. We rise to the level of the expectations set on us by those around us. So you are only going to get in life what your peer group expects of you. We're a product of our environment. To give an example, similar to Ed, I had visited an entrepreneurial event a few years back, and man, do they ever live up to the hype. The room was electric. Everyone was discussing their plans for change the world, the future, and so much more. Everyone felt like they could conquer the world, and the environment supported that goal. Now, the problem is, once I got home, I was put right back into my old environment that wasn't congruent with that change. I had my Xbox front and center, my TV beside me, no goals written down, junk food at arm's reach, and the people around me were no longer talking about these big plans. So life slowly started drifting right back where it started. And this is why I've now understood that an environment aligned with your mission is not optional, it is necessary. And the hard truth is, there's a reason that the rich always stay rich. And it's not just because they've had the money passed down from the family. It's because the surrounding demands it of them. They are taught from a young age not to settle for anything less than they deserve, and those around them are always pushing them for more. They're taught the language of money and influence from a very young age. So this leads into the first step in that case that we can use to craft the life of our dreams is an audit of those around us. We need to surround ourselves with people that don't accept us for the way that we are, and not in a spiteful or hateful manner, but in a way that says, I know that you are capable of so much more, and I won't stop supporting you until you achieve that. It becomes exponentially harder to break out of our own shell and think outside our own box without that external stimulus. And we have to remember that most people that have been in our lives have a predefined impression of who we are. And I know in my case, when I tried to break out of that box, I could literally feel the physical resistance because the people around me didn't see me that way. Now, I've been fortunate enough to be able to travel a lot, and in doing so, reinvent myself to people that had no prior impression of who I was. Now, I'm not saying that this is the only option. I just want to emphasize the importance of adding new people in our lives who don't have any opinions of us. I also would like to reinforce that there's nothing wrong with having people around us that love us for just for who we are. It's just as important to have those people that feel like home, that feel safe, to support us along this journey. So one of the ways that Ed identified the type of people around him was by asking whether they were past or future reference type people. By this, we mean if you notice a lot of the time that you're talking to someone that they're constantly bringing up past memories or past experiences, the good old times or past whatever, instead of being at the very least present, if not looking forward, then those people could be subconsciously anchoring you to a past state of being that you might want to be escaping from. And this very nicely ties into the idea that just as like a certain smell can bring back a distinct memory, or a song can get you fired up for the gym, people can be emotional or physical triggers, and this can either benefit or take away from you. We all have people that we feel more relaxed around, the stereotypical, oh, it's just so-and-so. But conversely, it's the people that we feel the need to clean our house before out of pride. Those are the ones that bring out the best from us. And as taken from James Clear's book, we fall to the level of our standards, not to the level of our goals, and the people around us help to dictate those standards. Another huge area of investigation is the space of personal energies. We've all experienced getting a phone call, and when the name pops up, we just know it's going to be a tough conversation to get through. This is an energy drainer, and it is critical to identify which people are energy givers or drainers so we can prioritize how to interact with them. We need to focus on adding people that support and add to our vision instead of eliminating those who don't. It doesn't need to be that extreme. We just need to shuffle around their proximity to us. Start prioritizing people who amplify our dreams while becoming more concise with those who don't. And I just want to clarify, I am by no means saying that you should be rude or adversarial to these people. Treat them with just as much kindness as ever. And I believe that if we truly have the energy, then we should try and help those people too. But it has to be given with the understanding that we cannot help others if we are not stable enough to do so ourselves. We can also look at this from a family perspective as well. Eventually, when we have kids, who do you think has the most influence on them outside of the house? A teacher, to a certain extent, for sure, but they're only interacting with those kids for a few hours a day. Those with true influence are their friends, which is why good parents guard those relations. All that being said, this can call into question how we show up in other people's lives. We have to stop and ask ourselves whether we are the person that we wish others could be for us. Are we an energy giver? Do we elevate other people's standards? Are we the kind of friend that holds those close to us accountable? And if not, how can we ever hope that they can show up for us like that in return? We have to aim to make any room you walk into smile. Try to consciously add to others' lives, and you'd be amazed the way the world returns that energy to you. So now that we've crafted the social side of your life, we need to talk about the environment itself. And I mean literally the room that you spend the time in when doing your work or your home in general. This is primarily highlighted in James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, where he describes how one of the most important adjustments that we can make to day-to-day life is to increase the friction between us and negative habits while making it possible and smoother to follow the positive habits that we're trying to follow. So I've covered this before, but it bears repeating in this context. And to illustrate an example of both of these methods, we can take my current state in writing my thesis. So, to increase the friction to my negative habits, which typically were just doom scrolling on Insta or TikTok, I've installed app timer limits to kick me off social media after just an hour. Simultaneously, I've also left all of the tabs that I need for my research open on my laptop, so as soon as I boot it up, it makes it so much easier to just jump right back into it. You could also take dieting as an example. Increase the friction by not having tempting foods in the house, while having healthier snacks placed near you so you can satisfy your cravings. And finally, we also have to pay attention to the rooms we find ourselves in, because they play a huge role in our performance. Of course, we're going to feel the urge to watch TV if we're working in the living room. The TV is the centerpiece. It's the purpose of the space. It was designed for it. If we, however, have a space free of distractions, one with our goals written down and in view, for example, then we have a far more likely chance to have a productive session. So, in summary, I'd like to leave everyone with the following takeaways. 1. Our success in life is profoundly influenced by the expectations set on us by those around us, and life's outcomes oftentimes match the expectations of our peers. 2, a dissonance between your inspiring ambitions and your mundane surroundings can severely impede your progress, and therefore crafting an environment that is congruent between those two things is not just optional, but a necessity. 3, to achieve our dream life, we must assess our social circles and surround ourselves with those people that expect and inspire growth from us. And we can use new relationships that are stripped of all these preconceived notions as fresh canvases for self-reinvention. 4, identifying energy draining and energy giving relationships is pivotal. We have to prioritize interactions with those who amplify our visions, but maintain kindness to all, obviously. 5, we have to reflect on our presence in other people's lives and strive to be energy givers and a positive influence. And by radiating positivity and contribution to the world tends to reciprocate the same. And 6, our physical surroundings significantly impacts our habits and our productivity. And by increasing friction with negative habits and designing distraction-free spaces, we ensure our success. So that's it. A huge thank you to everyone for tuning back in. I really hope that today's talk can leave a meaningful impact on you and help you take the reins in shaping your future. Please share this video if you found it useful, and any and all support means the world. And I cannot wait to see everyone back for the next one. So thank you so much. Peace.